Good morning. This is KELOLAND on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
Crews in northwestern Iowa are looking into what sparked an SUV fire in Sheldon. Officials say it happened just after 8:30 Wednesday morning in the north part of town. Firefighters arriving on scene found an SUV engulfed in flames. Around 500 gallons of water was used to put the fire out.
Authorities say the owner was at work when he found the windows discolored. When he opened the door, a fire was burning on the passenger side floor. The owner pushed the SUV into the middle of the parking lot and tried to put it out, but the fire spread quickly.
We have an update on an investigation into a man's death in Sioux Falls. Police say an autopsy showed there was no foul play after a man's body was found in a burned shed.
Investigators did not give an exact cause of death. The fire happened Saturday morning near Heritage Park. Authorities are still working to identify the man, but do have some leads. Rapid City Police are looking for a suspect in connection with a shooting that sent a man to the hospital. Tuesday night, officers were called to an area near the monument for reports of gunshots. A short time later, authorities found a man with a gunshot wound near Knollwood Elementary. He was taken to the hospital with serious injuries, but he is expected to survive. The Criminal Investigations Division is trying to figure out what led up to the shooting. So far, investigators say it does not appear to be random and that the public is not in danger. Now let's get a check of our forecast with meteorologist Scott Munt. Good morning, Scott.
Well, good morning. We are looking at a chance for that wintry mix to fall across southeastern KELOLAND for today. Starting in the form of light rain, we might be able to mix in a little bit of freezing rain or sleet, and then things will eventually become all snow as we go into the afternoon hours. Temperatures today in the 20s and 30s. We do have a winter weather advisory until 6 o'clock. This covers southeastern South Dakota, northwestern Iowa, and Minnesota. On average, I would say 1 to 3 inches of snowfall can be expected into this area. Sioux Falls, an inch or two. Brian will have more details on your forecast coming up.
Thank you, Scott. Over 50 snow hauler trucks have spent the past 2 days moving snow off the roads. Over 1,000 loads of snow have been taken to dump sites around the city. Daniel Whipple says the warmer temperatures have helped with the cleanup.
We've been dealing with extremely cold temperatures over the last week, and now we're finally starting to see the temperatures start to climb, and so that's helping us kind of catch up and get these roads looking pretty good.
Whipple says the crews are preparing for the next round of weather. The Minnehaha County Highway Department has its snowblowers out in full force.
The Assistant Highway Superintendent says it's not always the amount of snow causing problems, but rather the high winds making large and hard drifts that are tough to get through with a plow. That's why they use the large snow blowers.
We've been moving snow off the last week or so, and then today the roads are finally clear enough where we can start blowing snow. We move the snow as far away as we can off the road so to minimize drifting in the future.
Take a look at this plow busting through large drifts on a road northwest of Colton on Christmas Eve, showing some of what they've been up against lately.
The snow from recent winter weather is causing problems in South Dakota. That includes a train getting stuck and tipping over due to the snow.
The incident happened just north of Colton in the eastern half of the state. Our photographer on scene spotted crews trying to remove the snow from the tracks.
In western South Dakota, the snow is impacting residents in New Underwood. The Pennington County Sheriff's Office posted this aerial video to social media. In it, you can see snow cover the front of a home. Several cars are also seen buried in drifts. Warmer weather is helping melt some snow off the roads, but the rest of the snow could be around for a bit longer. The Heroes Behind the Badges blood drive is currently underway. It's in its 27th year. It's a competition between Sioux Falls Fire Rescue and the Sioux Falls Police Department. The two go head-to-head to see who can collect the most donations.
We're hoping to collect 1,100 units of blood. Our record setter was almost 1,200. We'll see how it's going. We're really pacing extremely well early on in the challenge this year, and we're hoping that we continue to see this momentum build so that we can reach that 1,100 unit goal and maybe even set a record.
The competition runs through January 7th. You can find a list of places to donate with this story on KELOLAND.com. That's a look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
All right, our weather today. Well, we'll start with that advisory map. You can see the county shaded in blue. Basically kind of a messy mix, a little rain on the onset, and then a switch over to a touch of freezing rain, but more of a conversion to snow. The amounts of snow, not really all that heavy for most. It'll be kind of a general 1 to 3. I could argue for a couple of spots, though, that could go a little higher than that. Right down the middle of this axis here, we could kind of pick on Clay County, maybe Union County in southeast South Dakota. Otherwise, by 6 o'clock, a lot of these counties should be allowed to expire on that, and then we'll hopefully get into a little quieter setup as we look toward the weekend. Here's the rain in green expanding over the next couple of hours through 8 and 9 o'clock. And then again, that switch over to snow. There it is as it moves up right there through Yankton to about Canton by midday, and in between here into southwest Minnesota. Maybe a little period of mixed precipitation. There's 3 p.m. and it looks much the same as it did yesterday. Just a narrower swath here in southeastern Ketherland, with a lot of it coming to an end after that. Well, let's have a talk quickly about next week. First up, this is the probability that we have 6 inches of snow next week. That sounds like a lot of snow. Well, it is, especially in early January. It's typically not exactly the wettest month. The month as a whole in Sioux Falls, we typically average about a ½ an inch of water. So if you did the math on that, just straight out 10-to-1 ratio on snow, it'd be about 5 inches of snow. And this is just this storm coming in next week on the European model. Already, the odds of 6 inches at 60%. Those numbers are pretty big. That's why we decided to include them. Now, as always, the models differ, and a lot of the internal data on this differs, but this is what we call the ensemble. In other words, this is kind of a weighted collection of data points on the Canadian model, which is another one that we put a lot of stock in the last time we had that big storm in December, and it performed pretty well. Now, this setup is a little different than that. It's not exactly a big cutoff low like that one was, but this one, I do believe, has a lot of moisture coming up with it from a couple different directions. So the chances of 6 inches of snow, pretty high already on this too, but the layout is farther west. I do expect at some point we'll get some agreement. The models will consolidate. We'll let you know when that happens. We're not there yet. Oh, and by the way, the chances of even getting a foot of snow, it's not out of the question, and when we get numbers already popping up at a 20% level, that should be a little bit of a flag that we should be paying attention to that. And certainly a lot of water. Good bets that we could end up with a total of 1 inch of water across portions of South Dakota, Minnesota, perhaps adjacent states to the south. That's a lot of moisture for January. Again, that would be double what we would expect for the whole month, and that's already a pretty high statistic. Today's system, by comparison or by contrast, if you will, not much. 1 inch or 2 in Sioux Falls looks pretty doable, maybe a little more down to the south toward Yankton. But again, we'll kind of focus up on next week as we get more pieces of data on that. 20s and 30s out there today. Folks in Aberdeen, a little cooler compared to Sioux Falls. Tonight will be chilly, but not anything close to what we've had recently. We're still above 0, 10 in Sioux Falls. And then as we kind of prepare for that system next week, Monday, Tuesday, we've bumped up the odds of moisture there. I would like to see more consolidation around that storm track, and then we'll be able to pinpoint some more details for you. But it's still 5-6 days out, so that's kind of how we have to sit on this one for now. And also, just given the uncertainties on the storm track, Aberdeen, you're in that mix as well. I think that as we begin to see more of that, we'll be able to kind of hone in on the exact percentages for those 2 days there for snow. But Pierre and Rapid, we would like to bring in that just a little bit faster. So Sunday, they already have some chances of snow, and that's also in the Rapid City forecast. So eyes will be on that as we peg things next week. Find out a little bit more online at KETHERLAND.com.